Hi, it's Katrina. From horrifying skull cups created by a lost race of cannibals to a sacrificial Aztec altar, here are 10 of the most compelling and mysterious archaeological artifacts. Number 10. The Cannibal Skull Cup. People living in a cave in Somerset, England, 14,700 years ago were eating each other, but strangely enough, not for food, but as part of a ritual. Recent archaeological evidence at Gough's Cave has pointed to a sophisticated culture of cannibals who butchered their friends and ate them, according to Dr. Sylvia Bello. But the really amazing thing about these strange cannibals is that they were involved in some of the earliest funerary practices of our species. And this is where the Cannibal Skull Cup artifacts come into play. These are some of the most disturbing artifacts ever found in a cave anywhere. Of course, there were many prehistoric human remains found inside of Gough's Cave, almost all of them showing clear signs of bite and cut marks. The most remarkable thing they did was craft dishes from the bones of people they consumed. 3 skull artifacts were discovered that had been carefully molded into drinking cups and bowls. While this might sound horrific now, making containers like this has been found from the Vikings to the Scythians. Dr. Bello reported that there was also a pattern of zigzag marks carved into bones to make art. There was plenty of meat available, so it seems like this practice was a clear choice. But aside from the disturbing bone bowls and cups, archaeologists also found objects crafted from ivory, reindeer antlers, and the bones of small mammals. The cave's most famous resident was the Cheddar Man, a near-complete skeleton from around 10,000 years ago. Number 9. Mexican tomb artifacts. At the Monte Alban archaeological site in southern Mexico, researchers found more than 400 valuable artifacts hidden inside of a secret tomb. This was back in 1932, when the famous archaeologist Alfonso Caso stumbled upon what would come to be known as the Treasure of Monte Alban, inside Tomb 7 of the Zapotec site. The amazing artifacts contained within the tomb include relics made of jaguar bones, rock crystal, gold, and even ultra-rare jade. According to the Tomb 7 exhibition curator Nelly Robles, the artifacts were part of an ossuary and not a tomb designed for a certain person. Plus, both Zapotec and the later Mixtec people had use of the tomb, with Mixtec people leaving behind jewels and human remains after the Zapotecs. Both cultures believed that the Mesoamerican god of death and the underworld, Mictlantecutli, and the god of rebirth, Xipetotec, presided over the tomb and kept the treasures safe. Number 8. The Cursed Amethyst. The cursed amethyst, also sometimes known as the blasted amethyst, is currently locked up very far from human eyes alongside other precious stones such as the rare Martian meteorite and the Medusa emerald, one of the largest uncut emeralds ever found. The cursed amethyst gets its name from its reputation. The gem was originally stolen during the Indian Mutiny of 1857 from the Temple of Indra in India, and ever since it has been allegedly causing its owners despair and horror. The stone is currently sitting inside the vault of the Natural History Museum in London. It was locked away by its previous owner inside of a bank safe, where it stayed for over 3 years following his death before ultimately being transferred to the museum. But the story of the amethyst goes back much further. It first arrived in England thanks to a cavalryman named Colonel W. Ferris, the guy who stole it from the temple in 1857. After arriving back in England, the colonel apparently suffered great misfortune. Then, so did his son, who inherited the amethyst, and then so did the friend that the colonel's son gave the stone to. Basically, this amethyst is a hot potato of death. To this day, nobody is entirely sure where the jewel came from in the first place. Nobody in the scientific community believes that the curse is real, and it's unlikely that anyone will ever take it out of its hiding place inside the museum vault. Even if you don't believe in curses, the coincidences surrounding those who own the jewel and the misfortune that befell them is hard to ignore. And now for number 7. But first, want to give a big shout out to Janet Smith and Christopher Trafnick. You guys rock! If you are new here, welcome, and be sure to subscribe before you leave. Number 7. Lead chalice. Archaeologists have recently found the fragments of a lead cup or a chalice, lightly carved with symbols that date back to early Christianity. This is an extremely mysterious artifact, which was found at the site of Vindolanda, an old Roman military fort near Hadrian's Wall in the north of England. 14 fragments in total were found underneath the remains of a Christian church from the 6th century, and according to Dr. David Petz from the Department of Archaeology at Durham University, it is an extremely exciting discovery that comes from one of the most poorly understood periods in all of British history. This singular artifact has created a direct connection between the earliest Christian churches in Britain and the religion's development during the medieval period. The curious marks on the cup are etched on both the inside and the outside, but they are difficult to see without the aid of specialized photographic equipment. It took a lot of work to properly reveal the symbols, which ended up being depictions of ships, crosses, angels, Latin and Greek letters, and what even appear to be members of a congregation. While Vindolanda has had its share of unique firsts, the fact that this chalice survived the post-Roman landscape is significant. Number 6. Ancient Maya alien artifacts. Last year, rumors spread of strange objects allegedly taken from Maya excavation sites. There were figurines and carvings of Maya warriors sacrificing victims, along with other figures who look very much like aliens. A publication in October 2020 reported that the figurines were found when a rock wall of a cave was demolished with a bulldozer. Then, artifacts appeared with figures wearing pre-Columbian motifs, domed heads, and dark oval eyes. They are strangely similar to extraterrestrial representations found in movies. There is not only one alien artifact that has been uncovered from the ancient kingdom of the Maya. There are many, from statues depicting alien beings to strange carvings of what appear to be spaceships and star maps. Though the truth of where the artifacts come from, or how the Maya could have developed the idea on their own, is a total mystery. Since these findings spread like wildfire, Adrián Montemayor, head of information for the National Fund for the Promotion of Tourism, the government institution that supervises the work, joked about the alleged finding in a thread on Twitter on October 11th. We have not found figures of aliens in the archaeological excavations of the hashtag Tren Maya, unfortunately. He said, "I have to clarify that these are contemporary pieces that have no relationship whatsoever with the Mayan periods. They include Mexican symbols from Peru and the United Kingdom. They are made of current materials and have aliens that look like children's figurines." Nevertheless, social media in the Hispanic world is going crazy, with many believing that the government is just trying to hide them from the public. Number 5. Artifact of the Great Pyramid. When researchers went in to survey the Great Pyramid of Giza, British engineer Wayneman Dixon took 3 artifacts from the Queen's chamber: a piece of cedar, a ball, and a hook, which are now known as the Dixon artifacts. However, one of the artifacts went missing. Over 70 years later, it was discovered in a rather unusual place. A researcher was going through some objects at the University of Aberdeen Museum in Scotland when she found a small tin box that looked out of place. Inside was a wooden fragment about 5 inches long. It was the long-lost piece of cedar. It was placed in the Queen's chamber when the structure was built and was probably part of a tool used to build the pyramid. Apparently, the fragment and a bronze hook believed to have been used during the construction were donated to the University of Aberdeen sometime in the early 1900s, but the fragment of wood disappeared. Someone had accidentally put it into a cigar box and then shoved it in with other miscellaneous artifacts in the university's Asia collection. The only reason it was discovered is thanks to the Egyptian flag on the cover. Following its discovery, modern carbon dating tests were done to the wood fragment. The results showed that the wood dated back as far as 3,341 BC, which was many years before the construction of the pyramid. This has led researchers to speculate that whatever the wood had been a part of, it was left behind by the earliest builders at the famous site, though even today, nobody knows what kind of tool or instrument the wood fragment came from. Number 4. Strange Paleolithic bird figurine. A rather peculiar artifact was recently pulled out of a garbage heap. Archaeologists found a Paleolithic bird figure that may just be the oldest three-dimensional Chinese artwork on the planet. Archaeologists are even saying that the existence of this tiny bird shows that the people of China began to make their own artwork independently from other civilizations of the ancient world, somewhere around 13,500 years ago. The bird was first found in the Henan province of China when a pile of trash was being excavated. The trash actually came from a well that was dug by construction crews in 1958. The pile of dirt sat there until 2005, when archaeologists decided it would be a good idea to comb through what the construction crews had left behind. And that was when they found the small Paleolithic bird figurine, carved expertly out of a blackened bone. There were other artifacts in the pile as well, things like pottery shards and stone tools. However, the bird has definitely gotten everyone's attention. It actually pushes the origin of avian art in Chinese history back 8,500 years. According to Luc Doyon from the University of Montreal, archaeologists were struck by the technological feat of the bird and its beauty. Some anthropologists also noted that when a race of people move beyond the basic needs of survival, they begin to create art. This bird could signify the exact time that human beings in China became comfortable enough to stop foraging for food and began making three-dimensional art. It's very interesting to see at which point different cultures in different parts of the world began making sculptures. Number 3. Sacrificial Altar. The colossal jaguar sculpture currently sitting at the National Museum of Anthropology in Mexico City was once used as a vessel for hearts that were torn straight out of the chests of sacrificial victims. This intimidating artifact is known as a guajicali, and it was originally carved from a large piece of volcanic rock. It's one of the most striking artifacts ever found, in the likeness of a growling jaguar with its fangs bared and its nostrils wide open. The animal looks as if it's about to pounce on an unsuspecting victim. A guajicali is a type of altar that would have been found at almost every Aztec shrine hundreds of years ago, and these were either in the form of a jaguar or an eagle. In the center of it is a bowl that was used as a vessel in which the high priest would place the heart of the sacrificed victim before burning it as an offering to the Aztec gods. In many Mesoamerican civilizations, the heart was believed to be the physical soul of a human or animal, and so the ritual was a way that the gods could be nourished with the soul of a life form. And considering that the jaguar was an animal with great symbolic importance within the Aztecs' cosmovision, it makes sense that many of these altars were crafted in their likeness. This particular jaguar sculpture was found sometime in the 19th century, and it's believed that it was used primarily in sacrifices involving enemy warriors caught in battle. Number 2. Bronze Age artifacts. The world's most unlikely archaeologist has made one of the most amazing discoveries in recent memory. The archaeologist's name is Monty, and he is a dog. While out for a walk in a small Czech village, Monty began digging in a field and miraculously came upon a buried cache of amazing Bronze Age artifacts. The dog helped find 13 sickles, 3 axes, 2 spear points, and a large number of bracelets. All of these artifacts are at least 3,000 years old, and according to Smithsonian Magazine, the owner of the dog actually got a small reward of about $360 for turning the artifacts over to the authorities. Considering that so many of the artifacts were found in a single place, the site was most likely used as some sort of sacrifice pit 3 millennia ago. But what surprised archaeologists the most was the incredible shape in which the artifacts were found. Because normally, the ancient cultures that lived in the area would only bury fragments or even melted fragments of weapons, but all of these artifacts were in perfect condition, making their value even greater. As for where these artifacts came from, archaeologists say they are from the Urnfield period of the late European Bronze Age. The Urnfield period was the time when communities began to cremate their dead and bury them in ceremonial urns. Number 1. Sunken aboriginal tools. 270 aboriginal artifacts have just been found at 2 different archaeological sites underwater, both of them located off the northwest coast of Australia. These amazing artifacts are about 7,000 years old. They are stone tools which were used by the original people who lived in Australia before Europeans ever landed on the continent. But to understand the incredible significance of this discovery, we first need to take a look back in history. You see, when the Ice Age ended 12,000 years ago, and the glaciers melted and the sea levels rose, at least 30% of the habitable land in Australia was submerged, and as you can imagine, a lot of people were living on that 30% of land. After all, this was coastal land, and there is almost always a community near the coast. It's unclear if the coastal people were decimated by catastrophic flooding, but one thing is for sure, they left behind artifacts and remnants of their culture. Jonathan Benjamin, a professional archaeologist from Flinders University, recently told Business Insider that these artifacts have redrawn the map of what archaeology can do in Australia. No longer are archaeologists restricted to only digging on land or in the shallow water. And even as we speak, Jonathan's team is working hard to dive under the surface of the ocean and find more artifacts, and to decode and understand the aboriginal tools that have already been retrieved. Soon, we will have a much clearer idea of the people who once inhabited the land down under. Do you have any theories about these mysterious artifacts? If so, let me know in the comments below, and thanks for watching! Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you next time. Bye!